Hi. So I got bumped off. My internet was low. Okay, so for those of you who are just popping on, I am going on live as I said I would, and I was just going to answer questions that some of you submitted in my question box a few weeks ago regarding parenting, motherhood, all things from different spectrums, and a couple of DMs that were also submitted during that period and just recently as well. So one of the questions that I was kind of getting was how often I breastfeed Hero. And he's about 1.5 now, a little over 1.5 now. He's going to be 2 in 4 months. And I don't breastfeed him as much as I used to breastfeed my daughter Soleil around this time. So she was pretty much, always on it, always wanting. And she didn't have any real solids till she was about 2 anyways. So she wasn't interested in food. She was only interested in nursing. And so with Hero, he's kind of sees what big sister does and is very interested in what she's eating and what she's having. So he's kind of pulled away and has had more access to solids and is eating everything that he enjoys and that he wants to eat. And we've kind of given him that liberty to just eat what he wants. And he also has a lot of breast milk. And so he only really nurses. I would say I don't really keep track because I'm not... I don't think this is a process that needs to be charted. So I don't keep track on that. And I know for some beginners in first-time parenting, that's kind of like a thing that makes you feel like you're accomplished or, reached the goal or whatever the projection of the pressure is. I just want you to kind of consider to just, trust your impulse and your inclination to want to breastfeed, and your body speaks to you. It communicates all the time when the letdown happens. That's kind of for me, and I'm speaking for myself. For me, every time the letdown comes in, I always ask him, do you want some boobies? Because it's there, right? And he says yes. So then he has. And he has a good swig. He stays on until it empties, and he'll switch on to the other one. Stays on till it's emptying, and then he goes back and does whatever he's doing. So I've never monitored, how many times, even with like my newborn with Soleil, like I never also read much about anything because I kind of wanted to go in with everything as a clean slate and a clean set of mind with the intentions that I wanted to experience in my reality as a parent and in parenthood. Does that make sense? So I didn't want to buy into any idea of the chart of, the child that's, excelling or whatever, right? So, or the good percentile stuff. So I didn't, want that to be the experience that I was going to stress over. I wanted to, have it be naturally, divinely guided by my own inner knowing, by my own intuition. So intuiting kind of what is best for my child. So that has kind of led my whole breastfeeding experience. With Soleil, she breastfed up until she was 4. Not as much, of course, until she was 4. So I did tandem feed. Another one of those questions was about tandem feeding. How was my process? It was excruciatingly difficult. And I say excruciating because it was painful on so many different levels. It was hard for me. It pulled up a lot of anger for me, frustration, not so much stress, but just I was really angry. The feeling of having both of my children nursing, not so much the newborn, my son Hero, that wasn't a problem. It was having her nurse, and her suction was actually very painful. So I would get angry that it was hurting. And so I needed to really watch that. So that for me was very difficult. It might not be your experience, but again, I'm sharing from my experience. And it was very, very difficult. And I did it. I did it for a while. And they were both on nursing. I kept doing this face a lot because I kept getting so angry and and then I got into the undertone of the anger, and it was just more of this grief process of being in true seva, being in that true, selfless devotion of being of service to nurture these two, soul incarnated humans. And then there was sadness. So there was a lot of sadness that came up for me during that period. I felt really alone because a lot of the relationships that I was relaying in weren't necessarily having the same experience as I was having. And then, of course, trying to feel good and outsource through this paradigm, the social media platform wasn't encouraging that feeling goodness either, because it was, again, these staged projections of what it should look like. So I was having a hard time with the tandem feeding, and I did continue to do it because I'm very determined, and I'm very committed, and I'm also very disciplined. And it can, there's polarities to all those aspects, of course, as there is in everything. So I struggled a lot with that, and then finally I ended up having more conversations with my, at the time, 3-year-old, and telling her, it really hurts, Mommy, trying to explain to her that her suction is just super intense and it's very painful. And then that wasn't working, because then it kind of switched where, like, she thought that she was causing harm onto Mommy. So that was bad news. And so then I had to, like, re-articulate and kind of show her and share with her. And instead of having both, the reason why they were both nursing from time to time was because he was on it and she wanted to be on it too. It was kind of like her, claiming her space with Mommy as well, right? Because the transitioning of going from 1 to 2 under 2 years old, pardon my French, but it's fucking intense. And it's not really, it's actually so traumatic that I've deleted a lot of it. But I just remember it being so difficult to transition, my one world with my first and into, like, this whole other new world where you do want that one world experience as well with the second, but they can't cohabit singularly. So now it's like this duality played out where there's two, and it was quite a challenge, and there was no guidance for me, again, because I don't like to read things. Also, I kind of want to intuit the next move with my own inner divine guidance, which I'm really grateful for, and I'm also very a slave to, in a sense, because I'm, like I mentioned before, I'm very committed and determined, and, like, a little neurotic too sometimes with it. But I learned how to process, and I learned to explain to my child, and so we didn't necessarily tandem feed for too long of a period, much longer after that. I think we did it for a good maybe 3 or 4 months, which is long for some, of course, but for us it was quite shortly lived. But I still did breastfeed her whenever she felt like she needed to fill up her cup with Mom. And so I breastfed with her up until, she was turned 4, to be quite honest. And we just kind of prepped her. I'm like, okay, when you turn 4, no more boobies. Oh, you're gonna be 4, no more boobies, And so she kind of got excited about the prospect of being finished with that. And then as time continues, it doesn't stop, she does kind of come to me, and whenever she feels like she needs to fill up her cup, she'll, like, hold a boobie, or she'll ask for, can I have some boobies, Mommy? I'm feeling, feeling a lot. We use the term feeling a lot. We're feeling a lot, right? Because it's relatable to us, because there's so much feelings. And then she will have a little moment on the boob, but she doesn't stay too long, so it doesn't really, it's not a thing for me, right? And I'm okay with it. I have 2 kids, I have 2 boobies, it's great. So that was that question about how long have I nursed Hero, and how often. I don't monitor it. I just, whenever I feel a letdown, I ask him if he wants to have boobies. He has boobies. I still get a lot of milk coming in. I've never pumped. That was another question that I was asked, if I ever pumped. I actually never pumped. I did try when I had mastitis with my daughter Soleil about a 3rd time. And I got this manual pump from Modella, and I did that, but I never ended up using the milk because she never took to a bottle. She only wanted the real deal. So I kind of didn't do that either. And then with Hero, never pumped. I did get one of the Swedish silicone suction booby milk holders, which I highly recommend. They're amazing. It kind of holds extra milk. And it's pretty amazing that, because when you nurse, if you're new to into this, breastfeeding world, when you're nursing on one side, the other side tends to leak, and so you can always kind of gather it up and hold it and catch it with this silicone sucky thing, which is amazing. That was a game changer for me. We did a lot of road tripping when my son was born, so it was just like nice to have that. And then one thing that I learned during that road trip is to prevent from actually leaking, right? When you're nursing on one, the other one leaks because it's being stimulated, so the milk ducts are releasing, is to apply pressure. So when you're nursing, you can apply pressure, and then it keeps the milk from leaking. It's amazing. Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever shared that with me. This is something that I observed with another mother breastfeeding, and I'm like, why are you like pressing that? And so I tried it out, and it was just game changer. So no bras ever. So just full on breastfeed and just press up against, and you don't ever stain anything. The sun is about to set here in Bali. It's about 6:02. Well, it's not about to. We still got an hour, so the light is changing. A couple other questions. One other question was body back. How do I get my body back postpartum? There's no rush, and you never lost your body, so change that terminology. You know what I mean? Like, how do I get my body back? It's like your body did so much for you. Like, bow to your body. And it's still there. It didn't leave you. Maybe like the shape of what you're attached to the old version of yourself, has shifted and changed and transformed to open up the gateway portal and bringing heaven to earth. Yeah, that's changed. But for sure, one of the things that I did belly bind. And I'm going to show you that so that you kind of know. This is a technique that was originated in the Balinese culture, but it's not used here, which is really interesting because when I was pregnant with Hero, my first midwife on the island was Robin Lim. Some of you might be familiar with her if you're kind of getting into this birthing world, and she's kind of like the midwife of midwives, especially in Bali. And if you ever want to do like a doula training, she's kind of like the one that you would want to go to. And when I asked her about the belly binding thing, she said that it's not really practiced here. And then she had left, and then after I had Hero in Canada. After I had Hero, I wanted to learn the process, and no one was able to teach me. So I kind of Googled and taught myself. So this is a fabric. This is one of my turban fabrics, and I'm just using this just because I didn't bring the fabric that I actually used for mine. I left it in our other house here on the island. So I'm just going to teach you with this turban fabric. This is about 2 meters, maybe 2.5 meters long. Ideally, you want like 8 meters. 8 meters long, because it's going to go around your belly. And if you're if your body is, different, it's, shape is different, you might want to invest in more, like a longer length. So what I did is I just put this guy around, so I take about from navel to about forehead long, and then I just kind of put it over my shoulders, and then I use this part, like the light is totally shifting, so I just kind of want to not lose you with the eyes. With the lighting, is this okay? Can everybody kind of just see? And then like step onto the thing. Okay. So you're going to take this long part, and you're just going to wrap it around your waist. So I did it a bit lower, but ideally you want to start up higher, like right at the low ribs. And then you just take this part and you do like a little swoop swoop, and then you put it back over the shoulder, and then you do again, and then you take that same part Oops. Put it over the shoulder, and you do again. And again. And again, this is going to be like over the whole 8 meters or 10 meters or whatever the meters, right? So this one got me to about 1, 2, 3, 4 little wraps, okay? Then you tie a knot, super tight knot. I mean, but when you get the actual length, like the proper length, there's gonna be like at least 20, 12. And then that consolidates and kind of resets the bones, right? Resets the organs and helps ease everything back down and gets the air, right? The winds, that's something that's very commonly spoken of in more cultures that do follow the rhythm of nature. Like my mom, after I had both kids, she was really like, stay in, do la cuarentena, which is the 40 days of stay, try not to walk. If you are walking, put socks on your feet, don't let the winds come in, right? So the winds of change, because you're an open portal, the winds of change come in through that gateway. And then some of us stay a little bit more wider or have extra retention of either be it water weight or inflammation, or just a lot of the inflammation can come from the trauma of childbirth, like with, whatever your story is, the inflammation does kind of maintain. But a lot of it can also be the winds, right? The vayus, if you want to get more yogic in that terminology. So as you wrap the body, you kind of press everything out, right? And then you're simultaneously still bleeding and still releasing and still cleansing. I don't recommend to belly wrap until about it's good to do it early, but not too early. Really give your body some time to just relax. It went through a big process to bring a human onto the planet, and just, be in the ecstasy of your orgasmic experience, right? If that is your experience, and the ecstasy of the hormones that are just, leading the way of excitement and joy and just the wonder of this wonderful life. And then I would recommend to belly bind after you stopped bleeding. I think that's easy, so the body's not too much under stress. And then again, that just kind of helps reset the bones, reset the pelvis, and it helps, allows the organs to kind of land, go back to their original placement. Another thing that I recommend this isn't about kind of getting, restoring the body to its original shape, because that is not possible. It is possible for some people. It is, I'm sure that some of you have seen, oh my gosh, she just had a child and her body's returned to its original shape. Like, whoa, how did that happen? And that's incredible. And they have their own process of how they're dealing with it. We don't know what's behind, what's happening behind. We don't know if she's nourishing well, if the baby is breastfeeding, or we don't know what is really happening. You know what I mean? Where for me, just let this be a moment of true seva. Let this be a moment of true selfless, devotional continuum of leading into that 4th trimester, of just continually giving for the sake of, the gift that you're providing to this new being, to your little soul child. And just kind of continue to eat the way you were eating while you were pregnant, nice, nourishing, healthy, plant-based, rich foods in terms of the nutrients. Bone broth is really, really nurturing and nourishing for postpartum labor. It's so good for you. It just kind of heals the system. I know some of you might be vegan and that might be a thing that you're dealing with, but if the body craves it, don't deny it. And again, go back to being intuitively led, right? Listen to the cues. The thing about these experiences that we're so gifted and blessed to have is the ability to be able to listen to the body. The body will always communicate and give you the cues to how to, maneuver through this time. in a way that will give you, the experience that you are born to have, right? And it is joy, ease, and grace. And when things are difficult, I'm not saying that birth is difficult, but when things is a challenge or you have to chase the thing, then, easy is better, less is more, it's just follow you, trust you, and we will get bombarded, especially if you're a new mom, bombarded with a lot of stuff on the internet, and at the end of the day, you just have to go back to you and just ask yourself and ask your child what's the right thing for us, and really trust that. Another question that I did get was, I didn't save the questions, so I have to go back into the archives and pull them up. But if you have any questions here, you're more than welcome to ask them here. About your fasting. Okay, so one question about my fasting. So I did an amazing gut reset protocol with our friend here on the island who's a doctor, Dr. Raphael. He's incredible. He can work with you remotely as well. If you're interested, you can give me a DM and I can give you his contact info. I don't know if he's taking anyone on right now because his plate is a little bit overflowing, which is great. But I did a gut reset a couple months ago and it was game changer. I've never done I've done liver cleanses, but they were like a joke. Like, they weren't properly done. They were like self-led, and I was just like, and they weren't coming from a place of wanting to heal. And the liver cleanse was like in my early 20s, maybe 19. But this actual gut reset was really, really, really transformational for me. I saw so many facets of myself, not only physically, but emotionally and traumatically, things that I kind of suppressed, but I didn't know that I was suppressing them. So it was really interesting to see those nuances and see that that be an experience and watching it self played out. So it was a 21 days fasting, but it was not full 21 days of like not eating anything. Like, it was really really properly laid out. So the first couple, like, you would prep for it, right? And I had prepped for it. I wasn't thinking of doing it. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do 3 days. My husband was already in day 8, and I was just like, oh, I'll just hold space for you. But he was changing and he was shifting in a way that he was just glowing, and I was just like, wow, you look incredible. And he was just level of presence, clarity, and I'm like, wow, like, okay, I'm feeling a bit inspired to try this out. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll do, day 3. Day 3 was when you kind of start one of the liver cleansing additions. Like, so you start to prep for that. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the liver cleanse up until day 3 and then I'm done, right? And then I hit day 3 and it was like the momentum, I felt good. Day 4 came. Momentum felt good. Day 5 came. And I just kept going. And by the end of it, I completed 21 days. And of course, there was a period where you do slowly, within those 21 days, add food, invite food back in, like really rich probiotic foods, rich, high in, minerals, and slowly, right? So you're not fully fasting for 21 days. It's a really sophisticated program that Raphael did. So I can give you more info on that, but I highly recommend it. So then after that, I've been fasting religiously now on new moons and full moons. So on new moons, I just dry fast. So I don't have any water, don't have any solids, nothing. On new moons, I do a liquid fast because the new moon is pulling up a lot of the water, right? So I want to stay grounded, and so I just consume like the smoothie and the juices and the coconut water and the mineral water, all those things. So that kind of helps grounding. So I have been doing those. I've also always kind of done those, but I've done both of them not very methodically the way that I'm doing them now. So I used to do those in the past. I would do a liquid fast on new moon and full moon. 4th day of the moon and 11th day of the moon. And I would just, have like bone broth, have, pumpkin soup, those kinds of things, which don't really, no. I didn't know that, but now I know. So now it's like a little bit more solidified, right? And I can now, because I'm not so much attached to the meal, right? I can live on like, a dewy drop of the universe and be okay. So that's been my experience with fasting, and I highly recommend it. A couple of days ago, I felt like I was coming down with like a little bit like flu-like symptoms. Like I had like scratchy throat, and it was feeling a little bit nauseous and super moody. A lot of my cues are more mood-based, and I dry fasted. Gone. Scratchy throat thing, gone. So it's for everything right, you have to work it and see if it works for you, right? What you work will work for you, but you really have to work it so that you can have like an experience and then discern if that's the experience you want to have, right? I'll look at the other questions as well. Oh, vitamins. So someone asked postpartum vitamins. Highly recommend ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is incredible. It just like give you all the minerals that you need, replenish all the minerals that you need. Highly recommend magnesium. Super good for postpartum, super good for just anybody. High levels of magnesium, just good, because we don't get these minerals anywhere else. Zinc is really good. It actually really helps me with my moods. I tend to be really, really moody and really, really on edge sometimes. And I think it just comes with being a Latina, which I don't want to stereotype, but I'm very passionate. And, so zinc kind of helps with like, tone it down. And then vitamin D3, this is 5,000 IU. I highly recommend 10,000 IU. This might be deleted because I mentioned that, but vitamin D is just super crucial. And I am living in Bali, and the sun is just everywhere, right? And one thing that a healer here told me that I didn't know before was that if you are sitting outside and you're getting the sun and you're, sun tanning or whatever, getting your vitamin D drip, after you come inside, you have to let the body, the minerals of the skin, not the minerals, sorry, he used a term, kind of like the cell membrane of the skin. It's like a very technical word, super, I loved it. I loved the word too. I was like, oh, so brilliant. But it was just some scientific word that he mentioned relating to, the tissue of the skin needs about 45 minutes to actually absorb the sun energy, the vitamin D. Right? I used to, go to the beach, I lay out, come back in, take a shower, and then, put on my non-beach clothes. So I didn't know that. So that was like a good takeaway for me. I really loved that about that encounter with this medicine person. And then another vitamin is, so I have 2 zincs, but it was selenium. Selenium is super, super good. It's good. It's good for the nervous system. It's good for the adrenals. It's good for everything, And so these are the vitamins that I highly recommend for postpartum. If you have the opportunity to lotus birth, I lotus birthed with Hero, and it was incredible. He didn't stay attached to his placenta that long. It actually came off like super quick and naturally. So it was like a surprise to us because we were actually able to encapsulate his placenta. So that is a thing that I also recommend. Some people feel a little bit withdrawn with that, but that is a good vitamin intake if you can encapsulate, dehydrate that and capsulate it and consume it. People recommended whenever your moods were feeling off, I just took it like my daily vitamin. I just took it, and it lasted probably for about 10 months for me. And I took it 1 capsule every day. Another thing I recommend too, that if you do lotus birth, it's amazing. If you don't, and if you prolong, the clamping of the placenta, and you don't have a dehydrator wherever you are. I know there's a woman here who I met recently. She's incredible. She just gave birth to her son, home birth. We did a shoot with her, a really beautiful prenatal shoot with her, and she just looked incredible, like a freaking amazing. Anyways, so she didn't know how to process dehydrating the placenta, so I suggested to cut it in half in little squares, freeze it, and take it in a smoothie and add all the things that you love. And you ideally don't taste it, is what I've heard, but I didn't do that. But ideally you wouldn't taste it. So that is really good for postpartum vitamin, because you'll get all the minerals, right, that you've created to, sustain the life force of your child, right? It is a life force. Another question, I'm not going to be on here that long, maybe another 20 minutes, but another questions were about postpartum diet, about to have my second and curious on the best foods, and I will be tandem breastfeeding. The best food is what you know to be best for you, right? We're all different. I mean, no processed foods. I mean, don't go to MC Donnell's. So, do all the things that are like rich in iron, rich in minerals, dark greens. I would stay away from kale. If you're a little bit rubbed the wrong way about kale, read about it. It's not really good for us, but I would, do my own research about it. I have and I haven't, and I was a big kaler, so now I'm not. So, but yeah, high rich greens. If you're up for it, bone broth, lots of soups, lots of postpartum soups. There's this really good book called The 40 Days, I forget what it's called, but it's like something 40 days postpartum, or like the fourth trimester. If you know the book, it's a cookbook for postpartum, and it's got all these beautiful recipes. I'll try to find it on Google, and then I'll put it on my stories. But it's the best book. We got it as a gift from one of my students, and it was just like amazing. And we did a lot of the soup elements. Oh, little gecko. Oh, where'd you go? Geckos just fall from the ceiling. A lot of beet soups. Borscht is really, really, really good. Super good. I highly recommend cacao. The drink. So drinking warm cacao would be really good because it helps with milk supply. I did that with Soleil, and I just was always always had milk. I don't even like cacao, but some people love it, and cacao ceremony, like not good while pregnant, but good postpartum for milk production, because it does pull, it's a blood stimulating medicine. So it helps build blood, helps produce blood, and your blood alchemizes into, the alchemy of the blood turns into breast milk. So I highly recommend that, to just have cacao, and fennel salads, super good for milk production as well, and especially if you're going to be tandem feeding, as that question mentioned, just to get your supply in flux. Another question was about mastitis. I just saw the thing, mastitis, ... So mastitis it could be a tricky thing. So I had it 3 times with Soleil. The first time it went all the way into the flu, and then the second and third, like I managed to catch it in time. It still kind of came in because they were like super hard as rocks. But I did get them before there was infection, where the body starts to kind of do all the things like the fever and the flu-like symptoms, and then the body aches and all those things. So I caught it in time. It's I don't want to say that it's inevitable, because I didn't get it with Hero, but it is something that it's like a rite of passage, I don't know. But for me, in my experience with mastitis, I did a lot of homeopathics. So I wanted to show you all these. So Belladonna was a really good one for fever, because you'll have the fever. This was really good for us. Arnica for the body aches, for the body pains. And there was another one, Syntheris. I don't really know how to read this one, but I'll kind of show you. Yeah, this one was really good because supposedly it was supposed to thin the milk so that you were able to like hand express, right? So whatever, it all comes down to your belief, right? If you believe that the thing's going to work for you, then it's going to work for you. So I believe that the thing was going to work for me, and it actually worked for me. I didn't take any antibiotics when I did get full-on mastitis with Soleil the first time. I just slept, high levels of vitamin C, got in the pool, like hand express. I didn't know how to hand express. I Googled, watched videos, did my best, hot showers, hot compress. Later on, when it happened the second time, my friends were telling me about cabbage leaves. So I put the cold cabbage leaves on the boobs, and I don't know what it does, but it does something magical where it just calms the milk duds, or it soothes the milk duds. I don't know what the science is behind it, but it worked. And I would take the cabbage leaves, put them on both my breasts, and wrap, similar to this, wrap my scarf around. And you would see me, like, even with Hero, you would see me just like wrapped with a scarf around my breast with cabbage leaves, because it would soothe it, right? And the reason that that's happening is because your body is trying to allocate how much milk it needs to produce for this particular moment. That's what it's doing. And it, it might produce too much, and the child can't move the milk as quick, right? And then another dose comes, So, and that's another reason why I didn't pump, because I didn't want to keep having that experience of being super engorged and super full. And just getting a bigger bust. Like I just, I've always been kind of super mosquito bites. And so these were kind of new for me, and I knew that I didn't want to get, a bigger bust. And then with Hero, I actually ended up, after he was born, I actually accidentally ate a bag of lactation cookies. Yeah. So I was fully engorged by day 3 after I literally ate them the night of my birth. And day 3, I was full on like chin rest of breasts. And super painful. One of my dearest friends, Lay, she actually came and helped me like hand express and extract all of the fluid out. And it was really, really painful, but it was so helpful because I couldn't do it. It was so painful. They were rock solid. And then again, cabbage leaves, wrapped them up. I didn't get the flu, I didn't get the fever, I didn't get any of the, mastitis symptoms, but they were like borderline there, because there was no way at 3 days out my son was going to be able to move that, and I actually even tried to put my daughter I was like, can you just, but then I was like, I didn't want to send mixed messages because we were done breastfeeding, and then I was like, but then that did end up working later on as I introduced tandem feeding with her later, as I mentioned before. So yeah, that's what I have to say about mastitis. Vitamin C, super highly recommend lots of vitamin C. And a few other questions as well. I might not get all of them because, like I mentioned, I didn't screenshot the thing and it's already done. One question was not mom related, I remember, and it was about, I don't remember, but okay, here's another question. So share a bedtime ritual with your children. What bedtime rituals do I have with my children? So bedtime rituals have completely gone out the window. You're like trying to for me, it's like, it's not so much surviving. It's more like having like a successful evening where there wasn't tantrums and there wasn't a blowout in terms of like mommy going full on mom rage and wanting to control the dynamic and like, go to bed now kind of thing. So we have ritual number 1 is I make hibiscus tea, cinnamon tea, So hibiscus leaf and cinnamon sticks. I boil them in hot water. Actually, I boil them during the day, and then at nighttime, and I know cinnamon sticks can be super stimulating, but for whatever reason, it just gives this kind of homey vibe to my children, and they know it's time to wind down. Okay, and then I put a little bit of honey, and I do almond milk, and it's like their nighttime tea. So I prep that up as like, part of the going down. Before that, I used to do kirtan kriya with my daughter, because my son would go to bed, but now he doesn't want to miss a beat, right? So he's like trying to drop his nap. He only has one nap a day, and getting him to bed is a bit of a struggle lately. So we've dropped a little bit of our kirtan kriya meditation. We only do it middays sometimes, and I try not to impose it on her. I want her to choose, because I also don't want to project my own stuff, like I'm a yoga teacher, so you should do these meditations. Like, I don't want to impose that on her. I want her to do it because it brings her joy, and because she likes it, or because she feels a part of something with me, right? So I've just slowly. And so we do this tea, we do the cinnamon hibiscus tea, and we read books. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's like 20. The bed is covered in books. So we have this thing where we watch the sunset go down. Sunset goes down it's like down now. And so right now it's 6:32, and we watch the sunset together. Right now we're not watching it because I'm here with you, and they're with our nannies right now. We have one nanny on duty right now, and she stays till about 7. And then my husband's doing this yin yoga retreat that's up at the studio here at the resort that we've been staying at, or living at, I suppose. And so we do that, and then come in, have the teas, we drink the teas, and she picks all the books that she wants to read, and Hero has boobies. That's kind of what our bedtime ritual right now looks like. I'll follow up as it starts to change, because I'm sure it's always changing, right? And you have to try out what works for you, right? And I just kind of let them lead, let them guide, and if she's not tired, she's not tired, and if he's not tired, he's not tired. I'm hella tired, but I'm just kind of slowly. Another question that I do remember is if we've ever did sleep training. Anything with the word training, I run away from. So they're not, they're so innocent, and to train them to, do what you want them to do for the sake of your sanity, or for the sake of your yearning to, live the post-parent life. I think it all comes back down to, you're still being of service here. You're still trying to develop and hold space for this new being on the planet, Like Soleil's 4, she's still a baby. She's still a baby. Oh my gosh, she's only been on the planet for 4 years. That's a very short period of time. You know what I mean? So we've never done any sleep training that's just that's not a thing that we want to experience. It's not a thing that we want to impose. It's not a thing that I want to learn about. It's not a thing that I want to direct. I'm not inspired by that. I'm all about bringing them close and keeping them close, because eventually they will separate, and this is a short-lived time. It's gonna, it's gonna be gone it's true what they say, it's gonna be gone within moments. So we still co-sleep. My husband and I are doing this thing where we have 3 bedrooms, and in one of the bedrooms he sleeps with Soleil, and then in the other bedroom I sleep with Hero. I put Hero down, and then I go and I join them and do our little book readings for hours. And then we used to do this thing where we'd have heart-to-hearts, and she would sleep on my chest and tell me about her day. Now she's more active, right? She's in imagination mode. She's kind of seeing that autonomy of kind of not slipping away from me, but just identifying herself as not of me anymore. If that makes any sense? So she's finding herself as herself, so she doesn't need that, nighttime ritual from me anymore. So she's in her own, and then by the time she goes to sleep, we're together. She thinks that we're sleeping together. And then I go back and join Hero, and then we're out. Sometimes I do have to do a little bit of work, but we never did co-sleeping, and we never did sleep training. We still do co-sleeping, and yes. And there's another question that I wasn't going to answer, but it just popped in my head because I just remembered it, and it was in the DMs, which I'll get into the DMs, and that was if we circumcised my son. No, we didn't. He's perfect. He was made perfect. Why would I change something, and that was a personal decision that we made. And, with everything that's kind of come out into the light about where that extra skin goes is a bit controversial. People can go either way around it, about maybe it's a conspiracy, but I don't know, right? So he's fully intact, right? He chose when to drop his placenta, and he's fully intact, and did not do anything that was unnecessary, and there was another question that was asked in the DMs, which I don't feel very comfortable of asking, but I think I know that I know that what the answer is, and the answer is no. And if you don't know, then you missed it. So yeah, we kept everything intact, and yeah, you come in perfect. There's nothing that needs to be changed, whether it be religion, whether it be society, whether it be culture, whether it be the same as the father. Like, that's just all imposed bullshit. Sorry, you can unfollow now. But yeah, so we just, I feel like we know enough information now of what we've done in the past might not necessarily be what we need to do now. And being okay with changing our minds or how we feel about certain things, and being able to have conversations about these things where not one person needs to be right and the other person needs to be wrong, where we can just, converse over these things with not having it be personal, or just having it be just conversation. And so now I'm going to slip into the DMs and answer. There's quite a few. So one of them was, I'm just going to go to the recent one. Okay, the latest one. Okay, another one about the tandem feeding. I'm 4 weeks postpartum with baby number 2, and my little girl is 2.5. So we are currently finding our flow and navigating tandem feeding. Yeah. Best of luck, be gentle, be soft, honor how you're feeling, and communicate that with her. Soleil was 3. So yeah, she was 3. He came July. Wow, the time's escaping me. But yeah, it's a tricky and it's a toughy one. And for me, for you, it might not be, but it sounds like you are trying to find your flow and navigate. I remember having moments, and I joked because I was quite traumatizing that I kind of deleted that part of it, because nobody talks about how challenging it is to introduce, a second one with, one being 2, which is still super, super fresh and young. And, but what I was going to say is that I remember having, hiding in, the back of the sofa, breastfeeding Hero, so that my daughter wouldn't, she'd go into the room, but she didn't see me. It's because I was hiding, because I felt like I needed to do that to keep her from, wanting to nurse or feeling bad or controlling, how her experience was going to be, if it was going to be bad or good. I remember doing that, and I'm like, oh wow, should have just embraced her and brought her in right away, and I did, but again, it was a week later. So there might be some trauma there, but hopefully it's deleted from her subconscious mind with all the mantras I play. But yeah, so yeah, I just wish you luck and something that works for you, that you are able to navigate. I did kind of did a count with Soleil. I would count to 10 and then she'd be finished, because she didn't really need it so much, because she was just she had already come off of it when I was pregnant, and then she came on because baby was on it, and so she was like, how come he gets it and I don't, so I didn't want to have that to be like the foundation of how they meet in the real world, So what I did is that I would breastfeed her, but we'd count to 10 and then be like, all done, all done. So we'd do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, all done. And then she'd be satiated, or at least that was the impression that I was getting from her, is that she felt fulfilled by that moment of just connecting and having mommy time. So it wasn't so much for nourishment, it was just like connecting. But maybe it wasn't nourishment too, it's hard to tell, but in my experience at the time, I knew that it was just wanting to confirm her spot still with mommy. So yeah, I'm going to go into the DMs, and I'm just going to answer just what comes into flow, because I don't want to be here too long. I think I've already been on here for about 42 minutes, so I'll just do another 15 minutes. Okay, so next question. Let me see if I can get into the archives here. Thank you for being so patient with me. And if you have any questions on here, feel free to ask. I think there was some. Thank you. What is the name of the doctor who helped you? His name is Rafael. I'll send me a DM and I'll give you his IG account, and then you can send him a message on Instagram. He's pretty much available on it. Bone broth, pumpkin soup, liquid shakes. Yeah, that guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that one. And the selenium. Yes. And then what was the other question? A little bit earlier. Let's see. What was it? Or maybe I made it up in my mind. Is there a way to prepare for breastfeeding in second, third trimester? Yeah, there is. I mean, you can start to stimulate the nipple a little bit. So there's like a stimulation process that you can do with the nipple to start getting like the colostrum coming in. But I would do it probably like around your due date week, like the week before your due date. And there's another thing that isn't really shared, is that the nipples can get really, really chapped during the first couple of days of nursing, because they're like sucking, and sometimes the baby can be tongue-tied, and it'll be a little bit difficult to extract fluids from it. So what I did is I dry brushed my nipples, and I just kind of got them ready for got them ready for that. So that would be something that you could try out, just dry brushing your nipples. They will feel super sensitive, and you just kind of just do what you can. It doesn't have to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it for like half hour. No. And then I think there was another question. No, there wasn't. No, okay, no, there wasn't. So back to the DMs. Okay, let's see. Did you get any stretch marks? And if you did, how did you make them go away? Because I haven't noticed in any of your bathing suit shots. Sorry, I sound weird. No, you don't sound weird at all. Stretch marks. I was telling the lady to dry brush her nipples before, the week of due date or before due date. I actually dry brushed my body. So I dry brushed around kind of the areas that were kind of getting big, like my hips got a little bit wider, my bum got a little bit more, voluptuous and juicy. And I didn't dry brush so much my belly, but I did dry brush like from the pubic bone upwards, like around that area that kind of peaks up. And I just dry brushed, super dry brush. Do I have my dry brush here? So dry brush, just like those rough bristles, like kind of the thing that you would use to like, wash your dishes, similar to that, but there's like a body one that they've made. And so I just dry brush just on the lower, not so much my top, just the lower, my bum, the insides of my thighs, because they were definitely getting more water retention, the inside of my thighs, and then my underarms. I dry brushed. And then after that, put castor oil on. I don't know if it's something that is recommended, but I did put castor oil on in those areas and on my belly. And then I cold shower all the way, rubbed it on my body, cold shower, rubbed the oil on my body, cold shower, rubbed it on my bum. hydrotherapy for a while. I've been kind of playing with it since I want to say 2012, and so it's something that I'm very used to now. And so cold showers on my belly while I was pregnant, cold showers on my face, like it's just something that I do for just like aging gracefully, in general. And with the stretch marks, I feel like it helped a lot because I literally have no stretch marks, and I've had 2 full terms, 8 whatever I want pregnancies. So I highly recommend. And dry brush, castor oil on the areas that you dry brush, and then cold water showers. So good. And then postpartum, after you've given birth, this is also after you're done bleeding and you kind of are ready to I didn't till after I stopped bleeding and after my 40th day did I take a shower. I don't know how that feels for you, but it was me wanting to consolidate the aura and merge it with my son and my daughter. So after my 40 day, I actually did my sitz bath and, washed everything, got kind of pretty good. I might have been wrong. I might have done it sooner with Hero. Yeah. But anyways, so I took a bath with castor oil in the tub. And this is kind of an Ashtanga practice that I just became familiar with, which is pretty awesome as well. So on the Sunday, you would not dry brush, but you would soak the body in castor oil to soothe the muscles. So I was like, I'm going to do this and just take a bath with the castor oil. And so I've done that now after every workout. And so that's kind of helped. And then also with the fast that I did, that some of you were asking about, well, 2 of you, with the fast that I did do, so what I learned is that when you lose a lot of the inflammation, so I didn't weigh myself before going into that gut reset cleanse, and I didn't weigh myself after. So I didn't weigh myself before and I didn't weigh myself after, but I just looked so different. And a lot of it was inflammation due to my poor diet. So I was eating a lot of high gluten, high starchy foods. And so as I shifted that and went through into those 21 days of cleansing, I ended up, I think my husband's here. I ended up losing a lot of that inflammation that my face and my body skin got a little bit droopy, right? Because it's holding all of it's expanding so that you can, it expands so that you can be a little bit more whatever. And so when I lost all that weight, Raf told me that your skin actually takes about 6 weeks to for the collagen, your own internal collagen, to activate and to produce itself and to kind of drape over your skeleton, to drape over your face, your bones, right, your body. So so with that, because that was happening, I was doing a lot of the massaging and foam rolling and applying the castor oil method into my hot baths. So I would, finish the week on Sunday. I would and I wasn't working out on the cleanse either, just because I wasn't motivated. I'm not very much of a workout person, but since I've been in Bali, I have, just because that's kind of the paradigm here. Everyone's like a gymmer. And so so I've just been inspired to just okay, let me just get stronger so that I can hold my daughter, and be okay with it. Oh, let me get stronger so I can paddle out and actually not be winded, And and because I used to have a strong yoga practice, that was kind of my workout. And because all of that has shifted in the last 10 years, I'm okay, I am getting older. I do need to move and I do need to sweat. And I just, I need something a little bit more spiritual warrior. So so on day 7, I'd soak the body in castor oil and collagen. So the body then produces the collagen so that it starts to kind of, drape over the skeleton. And another thing that Raf recommended is to make your own collagen. So this is not about the question about the stretch marks, but this is the question about kind of, preserving your skin, preserving your body, and just, using topical things that are natural, right? So that you don't, get bombarded by, the social misinformation of what beauty looks like, and you can create your own. Okay, so this is not, nobody asked me this. So Raf gave us this really cool recipe on how to make your own collagen. So what you take is you take sea moss and you boil it, and you boil it and it turns into like this goo, and then you blend it, and then when you blend it, then it's like extra gooey, and then you put it in the fridge, and then it creates like a gelatin. Sea moss, right? Sea moss from the ocean. You can get it at like any sea store, grocery section, shop. I think Bali here, it's everywhere, so it's at every farmer's market, I think, but we tend to just go to the one where we can find it. So take the sea moss, boil it, blend it, put it in the fridge, add whatever essential oil that you like, and then apply it onto your body before nighttime, right? So that when your body is resting, the cells recalibrate, it takes and absorbs and allocates everything that needs to be allocated. I got into like this really intense motorcycle accident. I'm not going to answer all my questions. I'm so sorry. I got into this really intense motorcycle accident a couple months ago in December, and my scar is basically gone because I keep applying collagen, and I keep applying this other thing that another friend of ours suggested. She's a physio here on the island. Her name is Izzy. She's amazing. I really, really like her. She suggested to put frankincense oil on your scars. And so I've been putting the collagen at nighttime and the frankincense oil in the morning time. And it's like my scars have gone away from this motorbike accident. So, that was just an extra thing that I wanted to add on. But thank you for joining me and for listening to me rant and sharing a little bit of my input on my experience with motherhood and how I've navigated through the morphing and the shifting and the multitudes of hat wearing, and how to kind of navigate through these times of this particular transitions that are now being more exposed and more accessible for us, and okay to talk about. So I think we're living in a really beautiful, privileged time on the planet where this is okay, to share our struggles, to share our triumphs, to celebrate each other, to cheer each other on, and to just, be conduits of change and conduits of what we want to experience more, and what we want to see more, and what we want to embody more, and who we want to be more. So thank you so much for holding space for me to share, and for all the questions that came in, and for all of your, insights too. I get so much feedback from you guys as well, and I love following you, and what some of you share, and it's just this is such a cool thing that we get to have, right? It's weird, but it's so cool, like, let's be honest, like, we've learned so much about our history through this platform, so much about like who we are and who we want to be and what's in alignment with us, and it's just incredible. So I'm super grateful for all of you. Know that I really cherish you all, and motherhood is a challenge, and it's a gift, and it's our divine right to step into it with divinity in every opportunity that comes up with it. All right, I am signing off. I stayed here for about 54 minutes. So all the love, all the blessings. And if you want any more questions, I'll answer the DMs that came in. So no worries on that. And if there's something that you want clarity on or more insight on or whatever, just DM me. Okay? All the love. And I'll keep this up if you want to reference it and listen to me rant. All right. Satnam. May you all be blessed, and may all your blessings just continue to multiply endlessly and forever. And again, happy equinox. Right? The light and the dark are equal today, and it's just, today's the day. It might be your day tomorrow because I'm ahead of your time. But all right, with lots of love and lots of reverence. Satnam.